Guys, a drone without ND filters is absolutely useless. You guys can survive with only one battery, cheapest controller, and even a cheap and bad case for storing your drone, because that won't affect any of your work. But without ND filters, guys, you're completely out of the game. This is the only thing you need to purchase always. Since we have no news about the electronic ND filters for the Mavic 4 Pro, and actually someone told me that they are being cancelled, this right here is the closest that we can get and the best that we can get for our drone. As for the sake of content creation for you guys, I'm doing this. Oh my god, I'm literally so done. Oh my god! There are a bunch of different types and styles, and we'll go through the most important ones. These are Freewell's ND filters. Not sponsored, I would have bought them anyway, because I use them regularly for my main camera, action cameras, and we've always bought them with my money. They are a safe shot, but first, for all the new people, let me tell you how these things actually work and why they are so much needed. I mean, look at the places I bring you guys. Isn't this wonderful and amazing? Oh my god. In my drone course with over 6K students, I teach everything you need to know starting from scratch, talking about all the different parts of a drone camera, up to advanced story techniques to make your videos have narrative stories and not just filming stuff from the sky and just smashing some TikTok music on top of it. If you'd like to join, leave me a comment below the video with the word course and I'll give you coupons for joining. But I'm not here to spam you about the course. I'm telling you this because ND filters are an essential part of this course, especially for us filmmakers. Up to this point, if you're one of my students or just a WeTalk UAV subscriber, you've learned what exposure time, aperture and ISO are. You have to understand them in order to maximize the usage of your ND filters.
Neutral density filters uniformly reduce the amount of light reaching the camera's sensor. This is useful when a long exposure in photography or our 24 or 25-50 golden rule for filming is not otherwise attainable within a given range of possible apertures at the lowest ISO setting.
Easily explains, this is like putting on some sunglasses. It's just a tool or something that blocks the light coming into your sensor of the drone, or your eyes in this case. I can sit here and stand here comfortably talking to you with all the sunlight hitting my face, but if I take them off, my life would be, you know, a little bit more complicated. And I think at this point you get the analogy. So ND filters work the same way. And quickly, for those who struggle about knowing what the golden rule is, the golden rule is for cinematic motion is to set your shutter speed at double your frame rate. So for 24 or 25 FPS, use a 150 shutter speed to create natural motion blur that looks pleasing to the eye. This mimics how our eyes perceive movement and prevents video from appearing too choppy or too sharp, you know, like cheap smartphone look. Well guys, I didn't plan to come to this location. It was more than an hour hike. I don't have my shoes with me, like the mountain shoes and everything, but for you guys I do this all time because I saw this stone, this big stone, and said I have to get there. And I've seen even plants that can literally kill me. Let me show you. This badass plants, guys, they can literally kill me. If I touch them and get anywhere close my mouth or something like this, they can really kill me. And these are the deadliest in Europe. You can Google it. Yeah, deadly plants and Alex, very new, just for you guys. But let's get back to the filters.
This image explains exactly what an ND filter does. When maintaining your 24-50 rule, most of the shots outdoors will look wide and overexposed, and the ND filter will allow you to strengthen the f-stops and give you much more detail and powerful colors. This is an example from some of my first drone videos. Back in the old Phantom days, we didn't have ND filters at the point where I was shooting this. When filming this without an ND filter, I was not able to maintain my 24-50 shutter speed, so I had to use a much faster shutter speed in order to have a right exposure value or a well-exposed image, and the result of a higher shutter speed is this jello effect you can see right here. With an ND filter, this would not have happened.
To use these shoes for a hike, guys. However, guys, only use ND filters when absolutely necessary because they effectively discard light, which could otherwise be used to enable a shorter shutter speed, to freeze action, for example, a smaller aperture for the depth of field, or a lower ISO setting to reduce image noise. Additionally, some ND filters, if they are bad quality, can add a very slight color cast to the image. And there are two also interesting choices among the ND filters, which can be helpful for some people. Let me quickly talk about them.
The graduated ND filters are a very interesting choice. They restrict the amount of light across an image in a smooth geometric pattern. They were used much more before, as you can see in this image. They block light gradually from the top of the image, usually of course where the sky is, and leave the rest of the image with more light. However, I wouldn't recommend them much for drone shootings.
Another interesting option though are polarized filters, and these are more interesting for our drone shootings. Freewheel does some good job with these. You can have just polarized filters or ND plus polarized filters. They will block some reflections on your image, especially if you're traveling to some beaches or like filming rivers, big glass buildings that will have lots of reflections. The option of blocking those reflections of getting into your sensor is really interesting. It'll give you a much more professional look. However, the downside to these polarized filters is that because you want to avoid reflections, you have to turn them around in order to get the right direction of the light reflection hitting your sensor. The thing is, when flying drones, we usually move a lot in the air and shoot from all different kind of positions and perspectives. So you may be only blocking from some particular position your reflections, then turn around and maybe you're not blocking them anymore because you'd have to move the polarized filter again. Next thing that can literally kill me. Oh shit, I hope they're not here for me. So this is why I've been saying in this channel this for ages and for many years, like, buy ND filters right when you buy the drone. It's your first thing, even more important than purchasing more batteries. Especially if you have a drone that doesn't have manual aperture and you have a fixed aperture, for example, like lots of smaller DJI drones, like I think the Air 3S. Now luckily we have some range to play with on the Mavic 4 Pro since we have manual and variable aperture. This helps us like a lot when we don't have ND filters. We close the aperture a bit, but since it's not enough, and we're far from the sweet spot of DJI's camera, which is around f4, f5.6, this means where the camera hits the best saturation, contrast and sharpness. If we are using f11 and a shutter speed of 500, for example, like in this case, we're far from getting the best image results. Now guys, let's test the freewheel filters on the Mavic 4 Pro. This right here is the stock ND filter. It's just a piece of glass that helps protect the lens. So I have freewheels pack that includes ND4, ND8, ND16 and ND32 polarized filters. And small tip here, try cleaning them after each flight because dust or just dirt may affect the filter. And when you're in a rush for the perfect shot, this is really a pain indeed. So make sure to always clean up your filters after using them. So as it's a very, very bright day today, full sun, 2 p.m, no clouds, I just decided to go for the ND32 filter. Since the Mavic 4 Pro has manual aperture, I can bring this to f4 maybe to hit the sweet spot, as I told you, and use a lighter filter. And remember, we're aiming today for the golden thumb rule of 25 FPS and 50 shutter speed, and the ISO low or native. And if you have a DJI Air 3S, for example, that has a fixed aperture of f1.8, so you need a stronger ND filter since you can't close the aperture. And it's pretty easy to change an ND filter on DJI drones, but you'll need to learn it in case it's your first time. You just have to rotate the filter to the left and press a bit, and immediately the filter will be loose. For installing the new filter, all you have to do is exactly the opposite. Move it to the right and press.
Okay guys, first I didn't put a filter on, so I set my ISO to the lowest possible in D-Log, which is 400, and even with an aperture of 3.2 and a shutter of 100, the image is way too blown to be useful. You know, I can't be flying with that, right? So what do I have to do? Increase the shutter speed in order to have a well-exposed picture. But look at this, it goes up to 2500, 2000, somewhere there. That's insane. This is almost like for sports photography, for a super fast moving object. I can compensate a bit with the aperture, but still, it's too bad. And now, where's the problem with that? Let me show you. At first, you'll think, hey, this looks good, but look at the details. First of all, the shutter speed is so fast that if I pause the video, it almost looks like a photo. Everything is sharp, no movement, no blur, no nothing. And you may think, okay, it looks fantastic, but like I tell my students in the course, and I've said a huge amount of times in this channel, cinematic has an important amount of blurriness because that shows us movement. Our eyes are trained from movies and films to have a certain motion. If you look closer to this clip with 2500 shutter speed, you'll realize all of a sudden that somehow the image doesn't look natural. It gets this over crispy cheap smartphone look that I've been talking before.
So guys, if you see this video, it's because I'm alive. and I survived. So it's a good moment to ask for a good thumb for this video that was really a sacrifice and risky to my own life.
Let me show you now the same flight but with my ND32 filter on. My shutter speed set to 50 and the ISO at 100. If I pause the image, look at this, look at the trees, look at the ground. This is blurry, but we are looking for this. Cinematic shots must have movement in them. This will look more natural to our human eyes. And the closer the object to the lens, the blurrier it will appear when you pause the image. Look at this part now, it lost that cheap quality look and we don't have jello effects that just looks 10 times better for just using an ND filter. This is why I always strongly recommend you to purchase a pack along with your drone. You won't get pro footage otherwise.
Just as a small tip, guys, if it's too bright and even the ND filter, like the ND32 filter with a shutter speed of 50 doesn't work because your image is still overexposed or blown, you may double the shutter speed to 100. As long as you double it up, and trust me, you won't be using any higher shutter speeds with an ND32 filter, but 100 shutter speed is safe. Oh, hi! I've been using freewheel filters both on my A7S III and all of my drones. They are not paying me for saying this, as I told you. This is purely genuine and honest, and I really like the quality. They don't distort the image or they don't give it some strange colors and aberrations. They just work fine. They are easy to install and they are robust and they deliver. That's all that I can, care about at the end of the day. DJI's official ND filters are also good. I never had a problem with them either, so you may purchase them as well, I don't care. About Freewheel's filters compared to DJI's, I like that Freewheel has the polarized filters and overall a wider range of filters that may be useful for you, and this is why I choose them. Well guys, I really hope that you did enjoy this video and that it was helpful, that you understood what ND filters are for, and that they are your first choice and your first purchase right when you buy a drone. Nothing really else to say, guys. Leave the thumb and always remember to keep calm and talk UAV.